Hello everybody, my name is Brianna Bilo and this is your February 2024 monthly climate summary. Now again, I'm still adjusting to the new setup. It seems like every time I come into this room to record, something has changed, so bear with me, working on it. So for our story of the month, we have our late month snow squalls. So these actually occurred, I believe, on the 28th. They started kind of on the evening of the 27th and slowly progressed south through the region. We had a very strong cold front, which, I mean, we've seen several of those over the last couple of weeks. This one in particular, though, did actually produce several snow squalls, or one continuous frontal band that produced several snow squalls within it. We issued snow squall warnings and special weather statements for it. These squalls reduced visibility significantly in areas. They produced snowpack and slick roads, very difficult for driving. You can see some examples here. This is on Highway 191 south of Monticello, Utah. Monticello. Forgive me, I'm from upstate New York and ours is Monticello. It doesn't look terrible, but it did actually get quite bad during this period between like 11 and 11:15. Highway 50 between Montrose and Gunnison. You can barely see the road there. That one was pretty gnarly. If you were traveling on Highway 50, you know what I'm talking about. And then again, all the way to the southernmost portions of our area, looking at Cortez, Montezuma County Airport and Durango-La Plata County Airport, you can see the snow squall, the heavy reduced visibility coming into the area on these FAA cams. And that actually marks this frontal band as a little bit of a rarity, because typically what we see is these cold fronts with these strong bands will make it to, say, the book cliffs that Hava puts, and they'll stall out, or they'll make it through the I-70 corridor, but then they'll hit the southern mountains like the San Juans, and then it'll stall out, wash out. Never quite makes it all the way to these southernmost areas with the same kind of punch that this one had all the way through from north to south. So it was definitely a very impressive system, quite quick moving on that morning, where it started out north of I-70 around daybreak, so 6:30 in the morning, and was totally out of the area by noontime. So definitely an interesting event. Looking at our temperatures, for the month of February, our warmest high was 66 in Grand Junction on the 26th. Our coolest high was 48 in Aspen on the 6th and the 25th. And as you can see, we had that really impressive warm spell here, actually out ahead of the system that spawned those snow squalls on the 25th and the 26th, as we were in some very strong, very warm southwesterly flow. So we saw temperatures a good 15 degrees above normal for late February. And then looking at our coldest temperatures of the month, you can definitely tell most of these happened 2 days after those highs that I just showed you. So we went from a high of 66 in Grand Junction to bottoming out on the 29th with a low of 17 and a high, I think, in the mid 40s. So definitely a strong system, a strong cold front, brought quite a bit of snow to the mountains and a lot of travel headaches for sure. So our coldest temperatures, unsurprisingly, Meeker, Aspen, and Craig, with Craig being the coldest at -9, not quite as cold as what we saw last month with that -23, but still plenty chilly. If it's below 0, I don't want to talk about it. But Aspen at -7, Meeker at -5, and then the rest of these in the single digits to low to mid-teens. Definitely chilly, especially after that very spring-like weather we had seen in the previous days. Looking at precipitation, unfortunately only 2 areas, Meeker and Craig, came in with above normal precipitation departures, with Meeker being our big winner, with a total of just about 2.4 inches, which is 1.63 inches above normal, and then Craig at almost 3/4 of an inch above normal with 1.62 inches as a total. But if you look at these departures, they're really not that bad compared to some of the things that we've seen, especially poor Vernal. They really did not do well this season, but they kind of bounced back really well here at the end with some good wet storms. So Vernal actually came from being at the bottom of the list consistently for the last 3 months to somewhere around the middle of the pack. Our worst spot was Montrose, with just 17/100ths of an inch as a monthly total, and this was a 1/4 of an inch below normal. But that is actually the worst departure, was a 1/4 of an inch. Everything else pretty much was a 1/10 of an inch or better, like closer to normal. Aspen, very nearly normal. Cortez, pretty close. Canyonlands, pretty close. So like, yes, they were below normal, but it's definitely not like some of the months where we've seen, you know, over 1/2 an inch to an inch below normal. I will take this. I will consider this close to normal in my heart. Looking at our drought update, kind of coinciding with that sort of near normal precipitation that we saw. As far as the drought tendency is concerned, these areas where we do have drought, so the areas where we have D1, we're looking at the drought to persist, so not really looking at much of a change, although we'll see. We have continued to have those wet storms into the month of March, so that may change. And then looking at the actual like drought monitor here, the areas that are still in a drought category, so D1 or worse, along our southern border here with New Mexico and into sort of these the very southern San Juans, and then just this portion in like north central western Colorado, eastern Utah. The rest of the area either seeing D0, abnormally dry conditions, which for the sake of the drought tendency, I say this every month, but I'm going to keep saying it, does not count as a drought category. I like to think of it in the same way that I think of any sort of like watch product, where it means that it could worsen into an actual drought category, so D1 or worse, but it also would take less to improve than if we were in a actual drought category. So it's kind of this sort of limbo category, if you will. But we did see significant improvement across the central northern mountains and even into the eastern Uintas, where we are completely clear. No, not even D0, no drought, all good. So hopefully we can keep that going as we go into March, maybe see some improvement across the southern mountains, see some continued improvements where we still have those drought categories. Yeah. And then looking at our snowpack, again, this really does kind of coincide with that near normal precipitation values that we saw at our 10 climate sites with the drought categories that we're looking at. In western Colorado, the southern portion not doing quite as well as the northern portion, but it's really, we're not talking a very significant difference here. San Miguel, Dolores, Animas, San Juan Basin here at 90% of normal, Gunnison Basin at 96% of normal. This is as of the end of February. Colorado headwaters at 100% of normal, so right on par. Yampa, White, and Little Snake a little bit above normal at 104, so you do see a slight favoring of northern zones, but really we're looking at near normal across our 4 western Colorado basins. And then looking at eastern Utah, pretty much sort of the same, maybe a little bit better. Northeastern Uintas at 109% of normal, so a little bit above normal. Duchesne Basin, even better, 117. And then southeastern Utah Basin, so that includes like your LaSalle's and the Abajos, looking at right at 100% of normal. So definitely an improvement over last month where we were still below normal. I won't say significantly, but we were trending more like 75 to 85% of normal rather than this very close to 100%. So February was a good month for us. We saw a very consistent stormy pattern that had a lot of moisture associated with it. It was not necessarily cold, but for the mountains at least, it was cold enough that we did see significant gains in our snowpacks. And then looking at the Climate Prediction Center's outlook for March, very strong, favoring for above normal precipitation for the majority of eastern Utah and western Colorado, with a slight trending towards less likely probabilities as you move south. So we're talking this lightest green shade here is 33 to 40% favoring of above normal, 40 to 50%, 50 to 60%. So we're looking at above 50% chance of seeing above normal precipitation. How much above normal? We don't know, but the odds are in our favor that we will see above normal precipitation for this month. And based on how things have started, I don't think that's a bad prediction. And then looking at temperatures here, generally looking at equal chances of above or below normal temperatures for the majority of western Colorado and northeastern Utah, with a slight tendency towards below normal temperatures as you move south and west. So the Four Corners, very far southwestern Colorado, and the southern half of eastern Utah, looking at a slight tendency towards below normal temperatures. So that is that 33 to 40% favoring. So better than a third when you consider there are three categories. Significant, but of a minor significance in comparison to some of these darker shades. So the chance is there, but it's maybe a little bit less likely than just seeing equal chances. That is it for the month of February. I will see you again in a couple weeks for the March wrap-up. The March wrap-up may be a little bit late because I'm taking a much-needed vacation. So bear with me, and again, like, I'm still working on this whole setup, but hopefully we'll get the kinks worked out, and I will see you again soon.